Hello lovelies and welcome back. As I've taken my Disney infatuation at the moment and taking it to the Sims. So this is an interpretation, should I say, of Prince Eric's castle from The Little Mermaid, which I'm absolutely obsessed with. One of my favourite Disney movies ever. So this is definitely where we had to start. Was tempted to do the like Atlantis. Is it Atlantis? I don't know. But the Under the Sea castle. Under the Sea. Anyway, figured I'd start with land and I can maybe incorporate that a bit later, but this is definitely a love of mine at the moment, so I just wanted to share it with you all. The basic exterior, it comes from a model that somebody has created themselves, and I've got pictures of it, which is actually ridiculously useful because in the film you only seem to see a couple of the sides, and like it actually doesn't add up. When I was trying to do the interior, especially the dining room, it seems like there was so much just not quite adding up. There's meant to be like a nice sort of really open area and it kind of looks out on the sea, and I don't know, but honestly I winged it. That bit in particular, I wanted to bring the room itself out a bit more, but there was only so much I could do and make it look realistic without having like a giant conservatory on the side. And I even went as far as getting the conservatory new kit that is currently out, and wanted to get the windows, and I was going to pull that room completely out, but then it goes around the corner. So I mean, I've definitely got a tower there, and there's definitely meant to be a tower there, so I kind of feel like, hey Disney, what's going on? Like, I get that you only had to think about so much and didn't have to put the whole place together. Most definitely a hard time doing this. I started off, as you can see, because I've just been babbling, welcome back to Tickaboo's Epic Rants. Anyway, as I started off using all the round rooms, which was amazing. It looked perfect. And as we come on with the build, these rooms changed. They kind of ended up, oh, good timing, having to change them so they kind of came in with straight lines and more of a hexagonal shape, hexagon, pentagon. I mean, they all sort of come together at the same thing. And then just use the rounded balls where I can, simply because getting them to connect together was the hardest. Like, I don't normally use the rounded rooms, and every time I've tried, I've fallen in love with the way it looks, but they just don't fit together. If you're going to have a rounded room, you just need it freestanding on its own, like not linked to anything. And as you will see that with the main hall and how it all links together, that it's not quite right. I've had to add like a random freestanding wall just to create the image that it's connected, which quite honestly is a really big disappointment. And I don't know if this is just saying a lot about my own building skills. I'm just not quite up to the task. Could well be. It's fine. I just do it because I enjoy it. However, I don't know, it's very frustrating when you're finally using these rooms again, and then every time I use it I find something that just doesn't want to work properly, and kind of giving up. Like, I just feel like I'm gonna stick with the old Minecraft rooms, if you know what I mean, that they're like, whoever's ever played Minecraft, that it's like a square circle because everything is straight. And yet again, having to make another amendment right now, and this is purely just trying to connect these two areas together and getting the door in the right place, and simply just because it was a rounded room. Now, half of this could be my own problem, well, my own cause, should I say, because I always use BB move objects. It makes so much difference. But at the same time, if it's meant to go there, it's meant to go there. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. It's been a long time, I'm not going to deny it. I'm a little bit nervous. It's been a while since I've done a video, and I kind of feel like as much as I was excited to do this build, it was challenging. Like, because it just, so many things didn't add up together. So this whole build gets extended like 2-3 times and resized as I go along, just because the architecture's not quite looking right. We're going to doing landscaping. There's not much landscaping, but it made it look different, and then I kind of decided that what was the point in the end, because the disappointment when I moved this into like one of the beach plots with the lovely seawater, that actually all that landscaping disappears. So I did get this idea that I was going to do 2 separate builds. I was going to do all the interior, and then I was going to do one with the landscaping and just make it like a huge pond area, and just so we could have the landscaping and just make it like look amazing. And then when I realised there wasn't much decoration going on, and I probably like really over decorate the exterior, that's when I just in the end literally plunked it in one of the beach plots, and it looks good, but that lack of character that the landscaping would have given it, I feel like it is missing. It's not right. So I hope you enjoyed the ramblings so far. I haven't really spoke much about the actual building process. Honestly, it was quite, other than the rounded rooms, it was quite simple. Like I said, I got it all luckily from a model, and if it wasn't for this model, I wouldn't know where to start. I would have like ended up with it not connecting properly and looking right. So we've gone on to the interior, and I started off doing the rooms that should be recognizable from the film. So we start off with the bathroom scene, and I absolutely love this bath. Like, who doesn't want a bath like this? So you've got the stairs down, and already the stairs are meant to be kind of like with the door in the center, and I didn't really put 2 and 2 together at this point that everything should all be in the same place. And there's a reason the door wasn't adding up. So these towers actually get changed to one further back, because as I was building I realised that actually this is quite a big view of the sea. I feel like it should be further up the tower, but we do have a ground floor, and I do also feel like the windows weren't quite adding up. So a lot of the exterior does change depending on what the inside is saying compared to the outside of the model. Decorating the exterior of this particular tower was a lot more challenging than I had hoped. I started off by doing knitting quarters and then copy and pasting, just like I normally would with any other decoration. You just put it on a couple of walls and copy and paste it the whole year long, as I've done many times if you've seen the videos. And so I've done this, and I've done it like a million times, and it just kept missing spaces. And so basically I ended up just doing it all manually pretty much, and doing it all several times over depending on what I was moving. So moving that interior, then got rid of the exterior, and that's not something that usually happens, and I've kind of got really confused in this process that it just seems to have changed it, whether the rules have changed or whether I'm actually being really delusional, and actually it's always been like that. But this again is probably where BB Move Objects comes in play, that it kind of just adds it into the room. But voila, as you had a quick see, that this actually turned into more like the picture with the door in the right place, which actually made a big difference to the whole feel of this room. So the order of which the rooms are being built in are a little bit scattered, just because I was doing it depending on what room came next and what images I could find that associated with the film itself, and then I just went in and bombarded it with my own creation afterwards. So another whole extension and stretch it out, and yeah, because things just weren't fitting again. And this was with this main area. I was trying really hard in this centrepiece to have the grand staircase that is in the pictures. And it's kind of got, you see Ariel come along and she's like, oh no, there's a Vanessa, I believe her name is Vanessa down there, and you can see an archway. So I got this whole design sorted that I wanted for this archway area, and yet the grand staircase where the two come down and meet at the bottom were not happening. And unfortunately, because of the build, this still didn't happen. It kind of just didn't like me, let's say, is probably the easiest thing to say. And so there was just not enough room, and this build, it was like so important to have those key features like the walkway out the back that, you know, just reaches up off the sea. And so unfortunately the stairs were just put in there, and as you can tell, I have moved on to go to the courtyard because I'd had enough at this point. I'm not going to deny the fact that I just wanted my walkway to be perfect, and I wanted that grand staircase, and it didn't work. And then it's like, even later on, where I think about putting stairs elsewhere just to try and make it better and come in that way. But overall, I mean, this area went amazing. The little courtyard looks perfect, but it wasn't overly well designed. Like, I do remember, take it back, but that area itself, there was literally just a small picture of the maid and the butler just waving goodbye to them in the carriage as they go off to the town, and you just see a small glimpse of the courtyard. And I'm making this sound like I don't know what's going on because I'm actually not put the pictures in yet. I do that afterwards, so I am trying to do this off memory, guys, so you got to give me some sort of credit there. So off to our beautiful dining area, and this was another one that stressed me. I got the big windows and I got the big doors, but the proportions of what's actually in the film itself is very different to what I could create in The Sims. So there was a lot of mixing around, and then there was a whole empty space the other side of the door. And I ended up just making a little stage and a grand piano area, and just kind of, I don't know, doing this, exactly what you can see now. Honestly, those windows still bug me. I feel like a lot more could have been done. Maybe I should have brought that room out to make that sort of conservatory type area, but I was breaching the limits of what could be done for this plot size, unfortunately. And it's like, I believe it's a 50 by 50, so it's pretty large. And I settled with making the exterior look like it matched, rather than worrying about what the film shows in this one particular scene. But then I feel like it's not quite so true to the film itself. Moving on to the kitchen. The kitchen scene is one of my favourites, with Sebastian running around and running away from the chef. I absolutely love it. And it's just, I don't know, got that music, and it's got so much character in it. And then at the end, when he sneaks onto Ariel's plate, like, I win! But anyway, so recreating the fireplace, or slash cooker, let's say, even though I have created it like a fireplace, that was key, because it's such a big, beautiful area that I wanted to get that right. And as much as, unfortunately, we can't use it as a cooker, you've kind of got the pots and the pans, and I really tried to bring that together as much as possible, even with the little emblem underneath to make it look like, it's not an emblem, but that's what I put an emblem on it, but I believe it's meant to be like air outtake, intake, whichever, something like that. And so I done my best to do that, and I really wanted to show that I could stick to the film as much as possible. And figuring out where the tables and the decoration went was one thing, because the images are so split up. There isn't one of like the whole of the kitchen. It is just a simple that side, this side, and then trying to put them together. was quite challenging, so I ended up with like this little L shape on both sides where one comes across by the door. Not entirely sure that's how it's meant to be, but it's certainly what happened. Anyway, we've moved on to Ariel's room, and trying to recreate the bed was actually quite interesting because it has this beautiful canopy and it all gathers at the top so nicely, and then she's got these flowers, foliage, instead of the sort of headboard, or as well as a headboard. Like, I'm not sure where this, like I love it, and I actually was really happy with the outcome of what happened, but I started so many different things to try and get this together and to look right without it being over the top, especially with the foliage, that I kind of feel like I went a bit far at that exact point. As I was putting up the ivy, it was kind of, it felt like a bit much at this point, especially then with the way it did or didn't, let's say, seamlessly join with the curtains. The curtains just seemed like such a key part at this point, and then for them to just sort of basically sit on some random ivy, I don't feel like it was my best idea, that's for sure. We carry on, have to redo the outside several times just to get this to work and everything in place, and I just went sort of full steam ahead with all of the decoration really in this room for plantage, let's say, like the lights with the plants, kind of, I don't know, in a way to me it mimicked like how the sea would come down, and yeah, I don't know, you know what I mean? No, of course you don't, because I don't even know what I mean. So I carried on, done all the extra little bits, and I think what really made this Ariel's room was, thank God, for all of the sort of little shells from the island live-in pack. I feel like they made such a key difference to how this room looked. It made it feel more like Ariel's room than just a random room in the house, to be honest. And I feel the interior was particularly challenging, as much as, like, for this it was all very much just copy and pasted to try and make it all look like it linked together nicely with this hallway. And the next one that I kind of just went full steam ahead with all of these island living decoration, and especially with the ships, obviously they were linked closely to Prince Eric himself, and I kind of really tried my best to turn the hallways into something that was kind of could resemble this. I mean, I know it's terrible, and these stairs, like, honestly, these were the biggest challenge yet, to be honest with you. I had to rearrange the rooms, and I didn't really want to, and then one room was smaller than the other, and I ended up making them conjoined rooms just so they looked better in my, like, my ego was restored and they felt a bit better. So I kind of turned them almost into like a nursery and then a join-in adult room. As I go throughout the build, I started trying to add areas that I could incorporate to use for activities for The Sims. So we've got the piano area that you saw earlier, and then I add in the, oh gosh, the easel and things in this tiny little tower that doesn't really feel like much else can go there, but actually it's squeezed in pretty good. And this bathroom, we actually haven't got a toilet up to this point. I've done so much and there was no toilet. That's terrible. So we start off with it in this little tower, and that's where it stays, but then it all gets sort of turned around and mixed up. Just honestly because I felt like the door was better located. I know, it makes a big difference. If you're anything like me and you look at it and you think that's not quite right, like, sometimes just moving the door makes a difference. So here's another little area that I sort of set up for activities with the knitting, and I was about to say quilting, but it's not, like the cross stitching. That's kind of, it's quite cute. I like the wallpaper on this as well. It all feels very bland up to this point. This sudden sort of darker paper, but it's so vibrant compared to the rest of the building. It kind of took me away from that a little bit more as I go into doing the rest of my own design for the rest of the building. So I get rid of that little hallway that I added earlier because it just wasn't looking right, and I decided to repurpose this room instead of adding another bedroom. So we go back to the type nursery area that I created, conjoined with another room. And I feel like it actually went really well. I tried not to make it too modern, so I feel like all the dresses and the aesthetic of the era that Ariel in is far from that, and I just can't place what era it is. But hey, fun fact, when I was building, I found a description. There's like a whole Disney wiki, and you can like look up the castles and stuff, and it has like this room is situated on this side of the building, etc. And it's absolutely fascinating. You should check it out, especially if you're a Disney fan like myself. That, I mean, how can you not be a Disney fan? Like, even if it's just the odd film here and there, like, I don't think I know anybody that hasn't seen a Disney film ever in their life. Anyway, so kind of going back to basics again with this room, to not overdo it with colour and everything, and sort of adding the conjoined room as well that has a little bit more floral with it, so kind of just gave it a bit more of a spark, and it kind of turns a bit more modern here, but it kind of wanted to go on that sort of line that Ariel's room's at, with that sort of bit more colour, a little bit more like a seaside resort vibe, which probably isn't the way to go, but I just added colour. There's one thing when looking at these rooms that I felt like colour was needed more and more, and as I was building it kind of occurs a little bit more and more every room I do. So I really tried to stick with quite plain and simple with the nursery, and then the conjoining room, it just sort of blew up just a little bit. It could have been a lot worse. So go into this room, library / office area, which honestly I was going to turn it into another bedroom, but yeah, again with that beautiful like thingy going out, that it just didn't make sense, that it needed to be somewhat accessible for people to walk through. And during this, as you saw a quick glimpse of, that actually I found the perfect canopy for Ariel's bed. It just like, it was so damn perfect. I was like so thrilled. It made my day, but all of that effort I'd done earlier just kind of wiped out in literally a matter of seconds. But it looks so much better. The canopy comes together perfectly, and it still has that sort of backboard of foliage. So honestly, it could be a lot worse. Had to go with the pets, and I was about to say cats and dogs, but it's not cats and dogs, but with that fish tank, that beautiful fish tank, just to try and give that vibe again of the being near the sea and everything, that I just felt like the little lighthouse in there I absolutely love, and I don't use it that often. I tend to stick with more modern ones, so it was a perfect opportunity. This last room definitely did not turn into a bedroom, and it gave a perfect opportunity to use some of the accents that were more suited to ship style, like the little barrels and the boats on the shelving, and even the bar itself with the little windows, the boat windows. Honestly, I'm terrible. I really can't remember the name of the pack. I apologise. I'm sure you're all probably shouting at me right now, being like, how can you not know it's this? So we made a little bar area, and that obviously leads out to the other sort of balcony area, place outside area. And then lastly, we come into a living room that I don't know, like, it was the last thing that I hadn't really put in. There was no real seating area without some sort of activity, so I kind of just added it all together, tried to make it simple and stick with the theme without going too over the top. Honestly, I feel like the best part about this was the carpet. It kind of reminds me a little bit of mermaid scales, and you might be shouting at me like, hell no, it definitely isn't. But you know, it does to me, and I enjoyed doing this build, really enjoyed doing it, even through the frustration of the walls and everything else. So, yet again, we have this last little room, and I basically picked a little activity and ran away with it and just kind of turned it into a room for that. And unfortunately, you ready for the drum roll? So we've moved down the knitting and everything and kind of created a second room. And then we've got this little cubby corner with a very modern carpet that got to bring the colour in somewhere, and just turned that into like a small games area. Back to the trees again, and this was sort of like the rest of the exterior that's being done, and the little trees, like the little pink ones on this walkway, they were so important to me because it was something you could see in pictures from the film, and it just kind of brought it together. There wasn't much exterior decoration going on, so I just wanted to add those little things that made it look like it was put to its home. Without further ado, be kind to each other and live your best.